She arranged flowers for every kind of love except her own. Welcome to Bluebird Street, where every corner shop has a story, and at the heart of it all is petals and promises. Ilara's little flower shop. From the outside, it's a burst of color against the old brick buildings, a haven of lilies, roses, and daisies spilling onto the cobblestone sidewalk. Inside, Ilara moves like a dancer, her fingers weaving stories with stems and ribbons. She's the town's silent Cupid, its confidant, the keeper of its most delicate emotions. For young love, she'd bundled blushing peonies, their petals soft and shy, just like the nervous teenagers who'd stumble in, pooling their allowance for a first-date bouquet. For golden anniversaries, she'd craft arrangements of yellow roses and baby's breath, symbolizing decades of steadfast companionship. She chose flowers for apologies, for celebrations, for quiet I'm thinking of you moments. Each bouquet was a message, a feeling given form, and Ilara was fluent in the language of flowers. She knew that a single gardenia could speak of a secret, untold love, while a vibrant sunflower could shout joy from the rooftops. Her shop wasn't just a place to buy flowers. It was a place where feelings were understood and beautifully expressed. But as the sun would set, casting long shadows through her shop window, a quiet melancholy would settle over Ilara, surrounded by the fragrant evidence of everyone else's happiness. Her own heart felt like a fallow field. She had orchestrated countless romantic gestures, yet she had never received a bouquet meant just for her. Her own love story was an unwritten page, a seed that had never been planted. She'd watch couples walk past, hand in hand, carrying her creations, and a bittersweet smile would touch her lips. She was the architect of their joy, but a stranger to it herself. She wondered if she was destined to be the observer, the facilitator, the florist of Bluebird Street, who arranged flowers for every kind of love except her own. Little did she know, a new story was about to walk through her door, one that didn't need an arrangement, because it was already beginning to bloom. One rainy Tuesday, the kind of day that usually meant slow business, and plenty of time for daydreaming, the little bell above her door chimed. In walked a man named Liam, shaking rain from his coat like a wet golden retriever. He wasn't there for a grand romantic gesture. He wasn't there to apologize or celebrate. He was a writer, new to town, who had just moved into the apartment above the old bookstore across the street. He said the endless gray outside was draining his creativity, and he just wanted something, anything, to bring a little bit of life to his desk. He looked around, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of choices. I don't know the first thing about flowers, he admitted, a shy smile playing on his lips. I just know I need some color. Ilara felt a strange flutter in her chest. This was different. He wasn't trying to translate a feeling for someone else. He was seeking it for himself. She walked him through the shop, not as a florist selling a product, but as a guide sharing her world. She told him how lavender could soothe a writer's block, how the bright orange of a marigold could spark a new idea, and how the simple, sturdy presence of a succulent could be a quiet companion during long nights of writing. He didn't buy a grand bouquet. He chose a single, small pot of deep purple lavender. For peace, he said, echoing her words. As he paid, their hands brushed, a brief, electric touch that surprised them both. I'm Liam, by the way, he said, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Ilara, she replied, her voice softer than she intended. It was the beginning of a new routine. Every Tuesday, rain or shine, Liam would visit. He never bought extravagant flowers. Sometimes it was a single stem, a curious-looking thistle, a cheerful Gerbera daisy. Each time, he'd ask her its story, its meaning. Their conversations started with flowers, but soon wandered into other territories. He'd talk about his characters, the worlds he was building with words. She'd talk about her childhood, growing up in her grandmother's garden, where her love for flowers first took root. The shop, once a stage for other people's stories, was now the setting for their own. She found herself anticipating Tuesdays, the sound of the bell, the sight of his rain-dampened coat. He wasn't a customer anymore. He was becoming a friend. Maybe, she thought, just maybe, something more. She started noticing things, like how he always listened with his full attention, how his laugh was warm and genuine, how he remembered the little details she'd share. One day, he came in looking troubled. He was stuck on a scene in his novel. His main characters were at a turning point, unable to express how they felt. It's like they're speaking different languages, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. Alara smiled gently. Maybe they just need a different way to talk, she said. She walked over to a bucket of forget-me-nots. These mean true love and memories, she explained. Then she picked up a white camilla. This one says, "You're adorable." She created a small, impromptu bouquet for him. A posy of unspoken words, a conversation without a single sound. Liam stared at the flowers, then back at her, a look of dawning realization on his face. "You're a genius," he breathed. He rushed back to his apartment, newly inspired. Later that day, he returned, not with an order, but with a coffee for her and a triumphant grin. He had broken through his writer's block. The scene was written. The story could move forward. Their story could move forward. The weekly visits became more frequent. Tuesdays bled into Wednesdays and Fridays. He'd bring her coffee. She'd save the most interesting new flower for him. The air in the shop, once filled with the scent of other people's romance, was now charged with a chemistry all their own. Alara was so used to seeing love through the lens of a transaction, a bouquet exchanged for a feeling, but this was different. This was slow, quiet, and real. It wasn't about grand gestures. It was about shared moments, inside jokes, and the simple comfort of presence. One sunny afternoon, weeks later, Liam came into the shop empty-handed. No laptop bag, no notebook, just a nervous energy about him. "I have something for you," he said, his voice a little unsteady. He reached into his pocket and pulled out, not a flower, but a small, leather-bound book. It was his novel, the one she had helped him finish. He opened it to the first page. The dedication read, "For Lara, who taught me that the most beautiful stories, like flowers, don't need words to be understood." Her breath caught in her throat. She looked up at him, her eyes shining. This was it. Not a bouquet she had arranged for someone else, but a story she had helped create, dedicated to her. It was more beautiful than any rose, more precious than any orchid. He then stepped behind her counter and, with a clumsy but endearing focus, began to pick out flowers. A single red rose, for love. A sprig of lavender, for their first meeting. A stem of forget-me-not. So she would always remember this moment. He wasn't a florist. The arrangement was a little lopsided, the ribbon tied awkwardly, but it was the most beautiful bouquet she had ever seen. "This is for you," he said, holding it out to her. "It's not perfect." "It is," she whispered, taking the flowers from his hands, their fingers lacing together. "It's perfect." In that little shop on Bluebird Street, surrounded by the blossoms of 100 other love stories, Alara's own had finally, beautifully, bloomed. She was no longer just a florist who arranged love for others. She had found a love that was written for her, a love that had grown, stem by stem, word by word, right there among the petals and promises. And she realized that sometimes the most wonderful things in life aren't planned or arranged. Te Husgro, thank you so much for joining me for this story today. If you enjoyed this little trip to Bluebird Street, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. What kind of story would you like to hear next? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time.